My name is Paul Valade, and I am a representative of the Daily Herald editorial board. Today, we're meeting with Glenbard High School District 87 school board candidates. Jennifer, is it Jendras?
Jennifer Jendras.
Jendras and Margaret DeLaRosa. They are both running for the 2-year seat, and voters have to pick one. So I've got some questions. I'm going to jump in right away. And Margaret, I'm going to ask you first. What are your views on the current leadership and direction of the school board in the district?
The current leadership on the school board, I have to agree with it because I'm the president. But I think as a board, I think we're a pretty cohesive board, and I think our focus is on students and teachers and the learning environment, and I think we deliver results for students.
How about for the district in general?
In terms of the leadership of the district from an administrative standpoint?
Not just, on the direction,
I have a great deal of confidence in our administration in terms, and I'll let me point to some specifics. We have been building relationships over the years with our middle schools so that the transition from high school to middle school is seamless from a curriculum standpoint. That wasn't the case 10 years ago. And we have representatives on the district's payroll that actually work with the middle schools to identify students who need help or need to be accelerated, just so that they can set that path. So I think that is something that's really been furthered by this administration. Also, the focus on setting pathways other than college. So I have a great deal of confidence in our leadership.
Jennifer, how about you?
Well, I'll start with the school board, and as Margaret said, having worked with some members of the board, I have no doubt that the school board, as it stands, that the people on the board have a love for students, for education, and for teachers. I have no doubt about it. I mean, there would be nobody on the school board if you didn't have those passions. However, I will say that I think the current school board is heavily weighted with members that are not parents. And it's not just members that are not parents a couple years out. We're talking parents that are like 10, 20 years out of being parents. And I can tell you, just from having kids that are just recently college grads versus the one in school, things are changing so rapidly that education, it's vastly different, and it's rapidly changing. And I really think that having more members that are parents on a school board will benefit the school district immensely. And as far as the school district goes, again, I agree with Margaret. There are some very well put programs together. The one that she mentioned with the middle schools is fantastic. However, I also feel that the school district relies heavily on optics, and they're very concerned with looking good all the time. And I mean, I get it. You want people to have confidence. However, it's almost, nobody, no district, no business, no organization is perfect. And it's almost to the point that it's becoming disingenuous to people, because nothing's going to always be good. You want to hear the good and maybe the challenges a little bit more. And when people are bringing forth some challenges, and I feel in a way that sometimes they're a little bit discounted too much. So I just would like to see the administration maybe just have a little bit more genuineness to the people that are in the community, and just, about themselves.
Thank you. All right, next question. It's kind of a long question. This one is from Caitlin. Jennifer, we'll have you go first. The superintendent said Monday that Glenbard principals are in the process of forming an ad hoc committee for reconsidering library materials. What, if any, changes would you make to the district's library materials, and why?
Well, school districts are not in the business of banning books. However, school districts do have policies on pornography and indecent material. So, if the books librarians pick don't meet board policy, either they need to go or we need to change board policy. So, in terms of putting this committee together, if there's a concern, I mean, the only thing books in the library, the only people books in the library impact are children. So the people that should be on these committees, aside from probably a librarian and a policy person, would be parents, because they're going to have the concerns, and you're going to have to get a very diverse group of parents, and they're going to have a meeting of the minds and look at the policies that are in place and see if these books fit.
Do you believe, who do you believe should be in charge of the selection
of that committee? I would,
not just the committee, who should be in charge of selecting books?
Books? Oh, librarians.
Okay. How would you feel your role in this on the board?
As a school board? Well, the school board definitely would have, I mean, obviously we can't approve every book in the library. I do remember being on the board, and we do approve the books that teachers select for classes. So, I mean, yeah, you can't have the school board approve everything in the library. However, again, if there's a process in place to bring books that are of concern, and then those, go through committee, then I would say yes, the board can offer the final approval on those.
Okay. Margaret, how about you? I can start.
Well, in this in this particular instance, Paul, the issue of the ad hoc committee is actually being formed because books are under reconsideration. The good thing is that we do have a policy for both selecting books and as well as reconsidering books, and we allow that process. We have to allow that process to take place. There is nothing that doesn't go through a process in Glenbard, and I think that's a good thing. As a board, we're not charged with selecting books. That's the job of the librarian. That's why we have librarians. They are the determining factor. And, yes, we have policies, but I don't believe the books in question are violating a policy. I think there has been in this particular instance, this is about 4 books. And if you read the newspaper, or if you read newspapers across the country, you will know that these same 4 books have been in question all over the country. This is not, I'm concerned about my student. This is, I want to make a change, and this is how we're going to do it. So it'll follow the process, but I think voters should understand that this is a movement across the country. Yes, as a board, of course, we have to listen to the public. Absolutely. But I think we also have to call out things that are not necessarily genuine and not necessarily about students. In most of the cases for reconsideration, they have not been parents. Parents always have the ability to have their student not take out a book. These aren't curriculum books. These are books of choice. So parents always have the ability to say, my child is not allowed this material. My opinion is that once you put this in a child's hand, this, the genie is out of the bottle. And so I'm hoping that those same parents are regulating what's happening on that device. But in this case, these are library books. They are choice books. You would have to seek them out if that's what you wanted. And I would assume that if you wanted them, that there would be a reason you would want them. But in this particular case of these committees, very few people who have brought forth books for reconsideration are parents.
Okay. And then how would you view your role in any of this?
Well, my role is as it's been, which is to remind the board that selection of books is outside of our scope. We have professionals who do that. And, more importantly, it has to follow the process. I'm hoping many people put themselves in a place where they want to be on these committees so that we can have a robust discussion. Okay. Because at one point during the reconsideration process, there were people who wanted to change the reconsideration process because they didn't want to read the book. Oh. So you can't reconsider a book if you don't want to read it. Right. You know, that's truly judging a book by its cover or maybe its graphics.
Right. Okay, thank you very much. Margaret, you can go first on this one. How would you address teacher shortages?
Oh, okay. You know, I just saw a program on this which was really fantastic at a recent Illinois school board meeting. You know, we are really Glenbard is a destination district, so we haven't had as much issue. However, post-pandemic, certainly an issue with substitute teachers. You know, everyone obviously doesn't want to come to a work environment that could be a threat to their own health. So, but we maintained, and we're always looking for ways to improve the bench, if you will. We're carefully working our way through that, but also maintaining our maintaining that organization for high quality teaching and professional development leads us to be a place of attraction. And I think that is where we still need to focus. You know, will things change over the years? Absolutely. Because we're not immune to the shortage of teachers than any other district. We just happen to be in a good place now, but I think always going forward that has to be front of mind.
Other candidates mentioned, like at a state level, that there's some qualifications that they're easing up on some. Will that help?
That may help in terms of pools of candidates. You know, I think what you've seen is that the pools have gone down. And so you don't have as many young people joining the forces of majoring in education. And I think during the pandemic you probably couldn't fault them for that. But I think as we move forward and as we realize the importance of public education, I think it's a fine profession for young people, and I'm hoping that people will continue to do that. But I think also, we're going to have to grow some of our own and promote that. I love to see students who have been Glenbard alumni come back as teachers, and that's usually my my plug at every graduation. Hmm. This is your home, and come back to your home.
Okay, great. Jennifer, how about you? How would you address the
teacher shortage? There is no teacher shortage at D87. We get hundreds of applicants for every teacher posting we have. Again, it is a destination district. Statewide, you'll find a different story. But at Glenbard, there is no teacher shortage. There might be difficulties, again, with substitutes, finding aides. But I would actually like to see some permanent subs on the payroll. I mean, we always need subs, so I would like to see that. Now, I have a daughter who is a teacher, and I can tell you the one thing that she says is keeping people from really wanting to become teachers in Illinois is the Tier 2 pension system. She says if she has to teach till she's 67 years old with all the work that's involved, she will probably die before 67. So I think that's going to be a very big distraction for young teachers coming in after a few years, and they realize how difficult the work is, to be like, well, gosh, can I hack it out till 67? Maybe not. So maybe it might be time for me to leave, and you see people leaving. So that's something that's going to have to be overcome. They're going to have to look into portability of retirement, perhaps even portability of tenure for teachers to be able to not be stuck in a certain district for a long period of time. They may need to look into reducing the amount of time it takes to get a different endorsement. The biggest difficulty with teaching is learning to actually teach and be a very good educator, to get the messages across to the student. It's not so much the content. In high schools, yeah, a little bit more, but it's very difficult for, a very well-seasoned teacher that maybe is a well-seasoned teacher in math to maybe move over to a different topic. It takes forever, and it's a long period of time. I think we need to make those things easier.
What about, you mentioned the aides and even the subs. I mean, what are some things you can do, to attract more aides or subs, if you ever get in that situation?
A sub would be attracted to the position if they had obviously a permanent position. I mean, that's very attractive.
Permanent sub position, not like
it would be a permanent sub.
Okay.
Not a lot of them, but you can have permanent subs. So they would actually be a teacher, and then they'd be even able to bid on positions as they opened up. It's a great foot in the door for a great candidate. For the subs, it's there. That's going to come with having better pay.
The aides, you mean, or the subs?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, the aides. Yeah.
Actually, along those lines, Glenbard has increased the pay for its parapros. And we know that that's a concern, and we know that stability in those roles is so important. And so, we're always looking at those as opportunities, as our budget will allow. But
they're
not deaf to that.
Right. And then there could be even flexible options, even if people didn't get benefits and worked part-time and got higher pay, they might be more interested in the positions. There's creative things that can be done. It's just, you have to think them through and see if they're workable.
Do you have parapros that are subs also? They fill in the subs?
I don't remember. I don't ever recall that there were parapro subs, but
okay.
I just don't know.
Yeah, we had a story about, what was it? It was a elementary district, and the parapros were subbing.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. In many cases, you have certified teachers among those ranks,
Right.
waiting to find that opportunity, which is why, sometimes there is turnover as a result too. So
that's true. All right, I have one more question. Who did I ask first last time? I apologize.
I think I went first last time.
Okay. Jennifer, then you. How to deal with declining enrollment? John Kenwood said that by 2028, there might be as many as 700 students less.
There will be declining enrollment.
Yeah. What do you do with that?
Declining enrollment isn't necessarily a bad thing. Teachers always have complained about having too many students, and we know that students will learn more in smaller classrooms. So in a way, declining enrollment can be a positive thing. Where it becomes an issue in Glenbard is with our smaller school, Glenbard South. If the school gets too small, we can't offer as many courses to those students, and then they become disadvantaged. So what you'll need to do, we have very sharp people. You're going to have to brainstorm what can be done to balance the student population. And there are other things you can do besides readjusting the student populations among the 4 schools. Perhaps one of the schools can change to be a trade and art school for students. There are many possibilities that can be done. You have to look at them, and you have to look at the projections and just brainstorm the possibilities. Survey parents, survey the students. What would they like to see, and go from there.
Margaret, how about you?
Well, we are going to see it. We are projected to see a decline in enrollment in the next 5 years. I mean, and we have seen that steadily. There's not the building that there was. People aren't having as many children, although I would tell you where I live, it seems to be there are lots of new families. But I think we're going to deal with that. One one of the ways in which we budget is, our enrollment dictates our full-time equivalent staffing. So we're going to see that. I think most of that will be from attrition. So the normal pace of, retirements, things like that. So I see that movement being, rather straightforward. And we're 5-year planning. So these are things that are already being considered. Now, in terms of, sweeping changes like Jennifer suggested, I think those are going to be very measured depending on what that enrollment looks like and demands of careers, but I think there's a lot of possibility there. It's not necessarily, I don't want to say it's a good problem to have, but I think it's just something that, like any other board, you have to deal with the changing environment. And, the best thing you can do is to take a very measured approach to it, which is really what Glenbard is all about, is keeping that consistency, keeping that environment that families and students can rely on. One of the things that we're doing next year is actually changing the school day. That has been a multi-year process. It's a multi-year process. And it's still going to be phased in over 2 school years. It's actually hitting about the right time, because as we have seen the impacts of COVID, opening up that schedule for a time period where students and teachers are 100% accessible to each other is a game changer in our environment.
I'd like to talk about that.
This has been, like I said, this has been work in process. But we're going to see those kids who were in middle school, early middle school, coming as freshmen next year, and what a perfect time to do that. In our prior environment, we had about 30% of the kids who could access their teachers during what was called resource period, which is what we currently have, but it also required a student to have a study hall. And very few students in Glenbard have a study hall. So now we'll have 100% of the students and 100% of the teachers available to each other for kids who have really taken that learning, haven't had a little bit of a learning loss due to COVID.
So they can access any teacher at that time, or?
Right, they can access their teacher, which is key. Before, it was a resource teacher. It may have been your teacher, but it would have been by chance.
And is that at the beginning of the day, or what is that?
It'll be 2 periods during the day. Okay. I mean, not 2 periods during the day, but they're 2 times during the week for an hour each day. So on Monday and on Friday.
So essentially now it's like schools have 3 PLC days per week. So in terms of time for education, actual instruction.
I think it actually just will be the opposite. It will actually give you more reinforcement of material because your teacher will be accessible to you.
But there's always that,
and it'll have actually a positive impact on language arts, which used to be the time where the schools would take for all kinds of student convocations or anything where you had to bring the whole student body together. It was that period. It was always the language arts period. So now this is everyone's free period, where you now have time to access those teachers for reinforcement, but also time to do those other things where you need to bring the whole student body together.
So I spoke to
the teacher. COVID cohort, it's just a great thing.
And I asked him, and he has he's one of the teachers that has a resource period twice a week in the library, him and another teacher. And he said to me, guess how many students came all year to seek out help from me? And I said, I don't know, 12. He said, no, 0. So there's an issue with having an open period in that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And there is no targeted intervention for every student to go see a teacher. So these open periods we're leaving it up to students to decide what they want to do. Now, bright students are going to take advantage of that, and bright students take advantage of every opportunity anyway. So you're going to be hard pressed getting all these students to use this time wisely. We just know that students love their phones. They love to socialize. And now they're getting less instruction. I really hope that this is going to work out, because it doesn't seem to be working out at Downers Grove. So I see a big problem with that. And then even if every student came, let's say all these students think this is a great idea. Well, teachers teach 5 classes. So what are you going to do when 150 students show up to one teacher in 50 minutes and say, hey, can you help us? It's not going to work. Students need targeted one-on-one instruction to make up for these learning losses. And these targeted instructions need to be data-based. They need to be especially given to students that show like high academic proficiency, but they're demonstrating slow growth. I don't think all that's built into this new change. So I'm hoping it works out, but I don't feel too confident about it.
Well, I think we're a little bit more than hope. I have a great administrative team. I have teachers who signed on for the change. This went to a vote. Teachers who signed on for the change. And we have excellent educators.
We do.
So I don't believe we're going to have an issue where we're going to have learning loss. I think we're going to have learning enhancement, and especially for those students who are COVID impacted in whatever way. We have to address it. But I also think it is a great opportunity for students who are high achievers, because it gives them time in their day to do collaborative work. It also gives them time to do homework during the day.
I will agree with that. I will agree on the high achievers.
For our student athletes, it could be a game changer. You know, what we're going to do, like we would normally do, is we're going to start looking at this. How much has our passing rate changed in that first semester? We're going to put the numbers to it.
That means that all our numbers showing 50% proficiency in English and math or less at every single one of our high schools. At least we've got a lot of room for growth.
I think we have very high achieving schools. We have very high achieving schools, and we have students. Some of
them are over 50% proficiency, and that's high achieving.
I think first of all, I don't know what metric you're using, but
I just looked it up on the Illinois State report card.
Yeah, I think that you have to unpack that a little bit. I don't want to discuss the Illinois State report card here, but we are looking at passing rates every year at every school. Every school has the same metric. You know, when we made changes to AP, we got the pushback. We got pushback that we were going to dumb down AP, right? What we have seen is we've opened it up to more students, and we've seen more kids taking AP, more kids passing AP, and as a district, just more success around students who want to go on to a 4-year. Now that was, again, it was a big change, but we decided to make it more accessible to all. And what we've seen is we have seen only success with that. Okay?
Yes, because we did use targeted data, and that's a good thing.
That's right, and we use targeted data, and we'll continue to use targeted data.
We're not using that for the.
We will continue to use targeted data,
but it's not being done.
We will continue.
Having high expectations for students also is still not enough.
I'm going to go back to what I said. I think I have a great amount of confidence in our teaching staff and our administration. So there's not this change without metrics. And is it going to be moved along the way? Is it going to be tweaked along the way? Absolutely. But I have absolute confidence. I think the other thing that's really important to know about Glenbard, we just discussed this the other night. We have a Glenbard Parent Series program. That program has really grown. I mean, I have been at Glenbard for most of its growth. But what I find really interesting about it is there is a lot of investment by our municipalities and our communities. And that says to me that our communities value students' mental health, supporting healthy families. that means we're doing good things, because I don't think people would be willing to give us donations from their family foundation and their personal finances if they didn't have confidence in what Glenbard is doing.
Those are fantastic programs. There's no
so
doubt about it.
I think we move forward in that same vein.
Well, I still feel that that's a fantastic program, but the scores that we're seeing out of the high schools now are not so fantastic. Maybe we need to invest more of the money into academics.
All right.
I think budgets are always a matter of priority. I think we have our priorities right.